In our lesson today, we're going to be solving equations that have variables on both sides of the equal sign. Remember, from solving equations in the past, the goal is to isolate the variable. Okay, we're always trying to get the variable by itself. Isolate the variable. Okay, and don't forget the equation's golden rule. Do to one side of the equation exactly what you did to the other side. Okay, whatever you do on one side of the equation, you're going to do exactly the same thing on the other side. So if you multiplied by 2 on one side, multiply by 2 on the other side. If you subtracted 7 on one side, subtract 7 from the other side. Okay, and just as a review of some of the algebraic equations that we looked at earlier in the year, we have 3 practice questions that we are going to solve. In our first question, 5x minus 1 equals 19. Okay, the variable is on the left-hand side. We have to try to get the variable term 5x all alone. On the same side with 5x is this negative 1. To undo that, then, we're going to have to add 1 to each side. Bring your equal sign straight down. All right, 19 plus 1 is 20. And on the left side, negative 1 plus 1 is 0, leaving us with 5x. And now to get x all by itself, we're going to divide each side by 5, since 5 was being multiplied by x. 5x divided by 5 is our 1x, and 20 divided by 5 is equal to 4. In example number 2, 47 equals negative 8x plus 7 plus 3x. You'll notice that on the right-hand side, we have 2 variable terms. When I have 2 variable terms here on this side, I'm going to combine those before I do anything else. So I'm going to write 47 equals, and now negative 8x plus 3x is negative 5x, and then just bring along the constant plus 7. And now this is a two-step equation, which is similar to what we did here in the first example. So the variables on the right-hand side, I've got to get negative 5x all by itself. That means I've got to remove this positive 7, and I'll do that by subtracting 7 on each side. 47 minus 7 is 40. 7 minus 7 is 0, leaving us with negative 5x. And now since x is being multiplied by negative 5, to undo that, we'll divide each side by negative 5. Negative 5x divided by negative 5 is our positive x. 40 divided by negative 5 is negative 8. In example number 3, negative 4 multiplied by the quantity 2n plus 6 is equal to 48. In this example, my variable term is inside of the parentheses. This negative 4 is multiplying everything that's inside of the parentheses, so we're going to go ahead and use the distributive property at the beginning. Negative 4 multiplies 2n, and negative 4 multiplies positive 6, and the answer is still 48. Negative 4 times 2n is negative 8n, and negative 4 times 6 is negative 24, which equals 48. And there's your two-step equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and add 24 to each side to get the variable term alone. Negative 8n is going to be equal to 72. And now if we divide each side by negative 8, n is going to be equal to negative 9. So in our next example, I want to know, how is this equation different? 5x plus 1 is equal to 3x plus 5. Well, in the top 3 examples, notice that we only have variables on one side. Okay, here it was on the left of the equal sign. These were on the right of the equal sign. This one's on the left of the equal sign. But in this example, notice that I've got a variable term on the left side and on the right side. Whenever we have an example like this, the first thing that you need to do here is get the variables on one side. Get the variables on one side. And it doesn't matter which side, okay? But you've just got to try to get all of the variables on one side. So the question is, well, how do you get variables on just one side? Well, again, if you refer back to the equations that we did here at the beginning, notice, though, in each equation, we have constants on both sides. Okay, I had a negative 1 and a positive 19. All right, here I had a 47 and a positive 7 on the other side. And over here, when I had my two-step equation, I had my negative 24 and my positive 48. In each step of the two-step equation, the first thing that we did was move all the constants onto one side by doing the opposite. Here, it was subtracting 1, so we added 1 on each side. Here, it was a positive 7, so we subtracted 7 on each side. And here, it was a negative 24, so we added 24 on each side. We moved the constants on one side. Well, that's going to be our approach down here as well. When we have variables on both sides, we're going to move the smaller variable over to the other side where the larger variable is. Okay, so here we have our 5x, here we have our 3x. 3x is smaller than 5x, so I'm going to move this 3x over to this side. All right, since this is a positive 3x and I want to move it, I want to remove it, I'm going to have to subtract 3x. And remember, with an equation, whatever you do on one side, you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to subtract 3x from the 5x as well. Bring your equal sign straight down. On the right-hand side, 3x minus 3x is 0, so the only thing that's there is this positive 5. On the left-hand side, 5x minus 3x is 2x, and I still have this positive 1. And now notice I have a two-step equation. 2x plus 1 is equal to 5. I'll go ahead and subtract 1 on each side to get my 2x all alone. 2x is equal to 5 minus 1, which is 4. And now I'll divide each side by 2. All right, half of 2x is 1x, which is what we want. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. So x has a value of 2. Let's go ahead and do the check to make sure that it works. Remember, the first part of a check is to rewrite the equation. 5x plus 1 is equal to 3x plus 5. Next, substitute in your answer. 5 times 2 plus 1 equals 3 times 2 plus 5. And now we'll work each side. We'll multiply first. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 equals 3 times 2 is 6, plus 5. And now on the left side, 10 plus 1 is 11. 6 plus 5 on the right is 11. 11 equals 11. So our check worked. Let's try it again in example number 5. Negative 2n plus 12 is equal to 3n minus 8. Okay, I've got variables on each side, so I'm going to move the smaller variable over to the side where the larger variable is. Negative 2n is smaller than 3n, so I'll move this negative 2n by adding 2n on each side. Bring the equal sign down. Negative 2n plus 2n is 0, leaving us with 12. 3n plus 2n is 5n, and bring down the constant of negative 8. Now we have our two-step equation, so let's isolate the variable term 5n. I have a negative 8 here, so I'm going to add 8 to each side. 12 plus 8 is 20. Negative 8 plus 8 is 0, leaving us with 5n. And now to get n, I'm just going to divide each side by 5. 5n divided by 5 is n, and 20 divided by 5 is 4. So n should have a value of 4. We'll just make sure by doing the check. Negative 2n plus 12 equals 3n minus 8. Negative 2 times 4 plus 12 equals 3 times 4 minus 8. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, and 3 times 4 is 12. Negative 8 plus 12 is equal to 4, and 12 minus 8 is equal to 4. 4 equals 4, and so I know that my answer here is correct. Let's go ahead and try a tougher example. We have negative 2y plus 1 equals 8 times y plus 2 in parentheses minus 5. Okay, the first thing that we're going to have to do here is distribute. If you notice on the right-hand side, 8 is multiplying y plus 2. So we'll go ahead and do the distributive property. I'm not doing anything on the left, so that stays as negative 2y plus 1. 8 times y is 8y, and 8 times 2 is 16. And then I'll just bring down my negative 5y. 8y plus 16 minus 5y. Okay, step number 2. Combine like terms on each side. Combine like terms on each side. Okay, if we look at the left-hand side, well, we don't have any like terms, so we're going to keep that as negative 2y plus 1. But on the right-hand side, I have an 8y and a negative 5y that I can combine. 8y minus 5y is 3y. So now that becomes 3y plus 16. And now step number 3, get variables on one side. All right, I'm going to look for my smaller variable term. Negative 2y is smaller than 3y, so I'm going to move the negative 2y by adding 2y to each side. Negative 2y plus 2y is 0, leaving us with 1. 3y plus 2y is 5y plus 16. And now we're ready for step 4, where we solve the two-step equation. Okay, I'm going to isolate 5y by subtracting 16 from each side. 1 minus 16 is negative 15, and I'm left with 5y by itself on the right side. And now to get y, I'm going to divide each side by 5. Negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3, and 5y divided by 5 is just y. So y should have a value of negative 3. And we'll make sure by doing the check. Step number 5, do the check. So we're going to start by rewriting our original equation. Negative 2y plus 1 equals 8 times y plus 2 in parentheses minus 5y. And now replace y with its answer of negative 3. All right, so negative 2 times negative 3 plus 1 equals 8 times negative 3 plus 2 minus 5 times negative 3. And now I'll do what's in the parentheses. So I still have negative 2 times negative 3 plus 1 equals 8 times negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. And now I'll multiply. Negative 2 times negative 3 is 6. 8 times negative 1 is negative 8. Negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15. And 6 plus 1 gives us 7. Negative 8 plus 15 also gives us 7. So the check works out. On page number 3, we have a whole bunch of practice problems for you to work on where we've got variables on each side. Remember your checklist of things to do. Distribute first if you see that there's a number multiplying items in parentheses. Combine like terms on each side after you distribute if you're able to do that. Then move all your variables to one side. I like to move the smaller variable term over to the side with the larger variable term. Solve your two-step equation. And then once you've got your answer, go ahead and do your check.